Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, September 4th, 2019. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The repackaging of the various components of Vincy Mas among the ideas put forward by Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Cecil Mackey, to improve the cultural festival. Minister Mackey was at the time addressing the 2019 prize-giving ceremony hosted by the Carnival Development Corporation at the Murray Heights Hotel last evening. At the ceremony, the winners in the various competitions, which include Pan, Mas, Calypso, Soca, and the Miss SVG pageant, received trophies and cash prizes totaling 600,000 EC dollars. Sponsors of the Vincy Mas product were also recognized for their contribution to the festival. We hear more in this report.
Delivering remarks at the prize-giving ceremony, Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Cecil Mackey, said Vincy Mas is an important festival on the cultural calendar of SVG and contributes tremendously to the country's tourism product. He said each year during the carnival period, visitor arrivals continue to increase, thus showing the importance of the festival as a tourism attraction. Minister Mackey said while there continues to be improvements in the carnival product, more work must be done to improve the festival. He said one way of doing so is to boost the marketing campaign across the region.
We must also intensify our presence at the regional carnivals. We have been doing that for some of the carnivals over the years. This year, we entered into a very important arrangement with Barbados, where they sent their Soca monarch to us, and we sent our Soca monarch to them. And we are very close in concluding a similar arrangement with Trinidad and Tobago. More than likely it may be in the field of Calypso, where they will send their monarch to us and we will send ours to them. So that we'll start that as the building process with those two countries and expand it to other countries as well, in addition to other aspects of development. This is going to be very important. And this year, we also allowed some of the countries to come and promote their carnival in our festival, and we were also allowed similar privilege in their countries. So this is also going to be.
Mackey said it is also important for work to be done to examine the structures in place to ensure early preparation for many of the cultural festivals all year round.
I've already indicated to the National Cultural Foundation, and also I've said it publicly, the structures that we have in place for Vincy Mas, for 9 mornings, for all of our festivals and events, we now have a full calendar of cultural events. The structures that we have far outgrown them by years. So I've said to the NCF that we have to step up our game. And we have held discussions with Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. We'll look at their template and we'll see how we can move forward quickly in establishing an appropriate structure to ensure that we prepare all year round for these festivals and look at it as big business.
The Tourism, Sports and Culture Minister said he is looking forward to the National Cultural Foundation playing a key role in creating developmental programs designed to produce more local products.
We cannot be producing this wonderful carnival year after year and we don't have anything to sell to the visitors. If we have more persons coming to the destination, we must have items from our carnival and all of our festivals to sell to these persons. And hopefully, early next year, we'll be able to see the NCF taking up office with an office space that they can operate full-time and work along with CDC and the other entities to have development programs and to have items on sale. And within that space, Art and Action, they have been calling very loudly for a space to display their art and craft. And hopefully for next year we'll have a space that would allow us to have those items on display and available to persons coming to our destination.
Better use of social media and a presence at events held in the diaspora are other ideas which the minister believes can take Vincy Mas to the next step. For SVG-TV's Evening News, I am Bavin Oliver.
Local soca artists have been encouraged to make their songs more marketable for the international stage. This comes from Chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation, Ricardo Ricky Adams, during his address at last evening's prize-giving ceremony for Vincy Mas 2019. More in this report.
Young soca artists here continue to make tremendous strides with their craft, receiving recognition on the local, regional and international stage. One such example is Darren Magical Ruse, who at the 2019 Soca Monarch competition dethroned the veteran of the craft, Delroy Fireman Hooper, to secure the Soca Monarch crown. Speaking at the prize-giving ceremony on Tuesday evening, Chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation, Ricardo Ricky Adams, said the level of soca talent in SVG is undeniable. However, he is encouraging the artists to pay close attention to the lyrics of their songs.
The soca semi-finals and finals continue to attract a lot of attention, and with a crop of young artists challenging the veterans, and with an energy that continues to be unmatched anywhere. I challenge the artists and producers, however, to use the tremendously creative talent that abounds and raise the standards of the lyrics to make the songs more acceptable to the general public and the international market. If we can write and produce good, clean music for the international market, then we can do the same for Vincy Mas.
Mas is a key component of the Vincy Mas product, and over the years, the various Mas bands have been reinvented themselves, all eyeing the coveted Band of the Year title. Adam said Link's Mas Band and My Imagination Mas Band has proven the adage that hard work and determination truly pays off.
This year, Links is the Band of the Year in both the senior and the junior Mas categories. And the Imagination Mas Band, for the first time, has won in the sections of the bands categories. And so it says a number of these winners have been plugging away at their respective art forms for a number of years, and they are a testament and shining examples to the value of perseverance. So I want us to give a special round of applause to those who've been toiling for a number of years and who've been able to capture titles this year.
Adam said while the CDC continues to strive for excellence, there are still some challenges it has to overcome, and encourage all stakeholders to play a role in supporting the CDC and Vincy Mas product.
Our venues, the ambience, the quality of the performers, the efficient running of the shows, and the option of the paid all-inclusive experience. We achieved some success, but it is a work in progress, and we continue to strive for improvements every year. We continue to be challenged by finances as we try to run Vincy Mas with an annual revenue shortfall of close to $250,000. We appeal to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and to our sponsors to raise the contributions so that we can treat our suppliers and components a little better next year. We will soon issue an invitation for you to join us at our annual symposium, where we will discuss the way forward and take on board your feedback. There will be continued focus on development programs with a number of training sessions being held. But we will continue to look at how we can do more and how we can do them earlier and how we can broaden the scope.
For SVG-TV's Evening News, I am Babin Oliver.
Meanwhile, the 2019 sections of the band's competition was dedicated to the late John Horhn, with the winner presented with the John Horhn Challenge Cup. Horhn, who passed away earlier this year, made tremendous contributions to culture as a government minister and after retirement from active politics. Chairperson of the CDC's Beauty Shows Committee, Lafon Fraser, said the first section of the band's competition was won by a band led by Horhn, dubbed A Portrait of Ancient Egypt in 1963.
Mr. Horhn was an iconic band leader of the famed Bridge Boys mass band from the late 1950s to the early decade of the 1970s. Winners of the first ever Band of the Year title in 1963 with the presentation A Portrait of Ancient Egypt, in which he played a leading role. In 1966, John Horhn brought to the Victoria Park stage the historical production Journey Through the Orient, one of the greatest presentations of its kind in the history of the masquerade art form in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. His insistence on producing authentic costumes in each section was a noted feature of this presentation. Mr. Horhn later went on to serve as Minister of Culture in the government for several years. The winning band of the 2019 Section of the Year competition, Imagination Mass Camp, is awarded the John Horhn Challenge Cup.
It is never too early to start preparing for Nine Mornings 2019. So says Chairman of the National Nine Mornings Committee, Horhn Charles, at a media conference on Monday hosted by the Ministry of Tourism, Sports and Culture. Charles said the committee has already begun its work preparing for this year's festival, and in the coming weeks will be reaching out to various stakeholders for their support. The Lighting Up competition is an important part of the festival, and Charles is encouraging all participants, including at the community level, to start putting the necessary measures in place for their program of activities.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the community groups and organizations responsible for the lighting up programs in various communities to submit your programs and budget to the Central Management Committee at the Department of Culture as soon as possible. Also, private homeowners who normally participate in the lighting up of your homes, you know, it's not too early to get started and to prepare. As the minister said, it's about 3 months away, but that time will fly, and Christmas will be upon us. So start to it's not too early to begin conceptualizing your light up program. We look forward to greater participation this year. Remember, there are lots of prizes to be won in the various Nine Morning competitions: the best lit private house, best lit garden, best decorated show window, best nativity scene.
Charles said he is looking forward to see more participation of the corporate sector in the National Nine Mornings activities, noting that they will be focusing more this year on the cultural significance of Nine Mornings.
Last year, we began to see more commercial public buildings being lighted in Kingston, which was very encouraging. We want to continue that trend upwards. Let us make Kingston the envy of the Caribbean when it comes to Christmas lighting up. It is my understanding that there are some big plans afoot in other quarters that will really help to bring some new light to Kingston this year as we celebrate 40 years of independence. We want to increase our focus and attention on the cultural significance of Nine Mornings to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a unique Vincentian tradition rooted in the celebration of Christmas and inclusive of all our citizens, as well as the immense tourism potential that this festival has. And we encourage stakeholders to take part and take advantage of all the opportunities available as the festival continues.
Nine Mornings has tremendous potential as a tourism attraction, and Charles used the opportunity to highlight some developments relating to the festival's tourism potential.
Currently, I should mention that we are in conversation with persons in the Airbnb sector working on developing Nine Mornings adventure packages to be marketed to persons particularly from different cultures around the world. So community groups and organizations will be encouraged to create unique and exciting Nine Mornings experiences for guests who will be visiting your communities as part of these packages. This is among several other ideas we have for the medium term that are currently in development. Of course, there's a whole lot more I could go into. 9 nights at the Botanical Gardens is a fast-growing feature of our festival, the return of caroling, of course, and other aspects. But I'd already given an overview of that during my remarks in May as I took the chairmanship officially. But in the coming weeks, we will be making our rounds on the ground, persons from the National Nine Mornings Committee,
The process of drying is crucial to the quality of cannabis for medical purposes, and the Chief Executive Officer of the SVG Medical Cannabis Authority, Dr. Gerald Thompson, said this is one area which the authority is examining to ensure the best results for the industry. Dr. Thompson said, much like fruits, the essential elements found in the cannabis begin to deteriorate after it is harvested, noting that there is a risk associated with cannabis which has been harvested and not dried properly.
But I found out that with cannabis, if you don't start the drying process within 24 hours, your risk of mold developing, especially aspergillus, and there are about 4 species of aspergillus, a bacteria, a fungus, a mold, that the risk of aspergillus starts to increase. So some persons who harvest their thing and keep it, the risk for mold starts to increase significantly as the days go by. Whereas if you were to harvest it and start the drying process to extract the water content down to 12% water content, 12%. That's how much of the dry. Now you can't dry it too quickly. If you dry it too quickly, it becomes too brittle and crisp. So it has to have a slow dry, but it has to slow dry with.
Dr. Thompson said sophisticated measures must also be implemented to allow the cannabis, which will be used for medical purposes, to dry in an efficient manner.
I believe this has been one of the factors. In the past, persons will do their own drying and so forth, and they may take a while. And here's the big thing. If you have half an acre and you have a tent and you're drying it under a tent, yeah, it might dry. But if you have 3 acres, 2 acres, and you harvest, you may not be able to start the drying process straight away. Matter of fact, they came up with a strategy that the plant, suppose you have a plant that is 5 feet tall. Guess what you do? You harvest the top of it first, leave the bottom unharvested for a little while. Yes. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And those will continue, so that in your drying room, which the drying process may take about 2 weeks, it allows you to go a second time again. So ideas will have to be developed.
The Medical Cannabis Authority CEO said the cost associated with drying is another issue for consideration by the authority.
In terms of how close a drying room is to any particular facility, they have these machines that will pluck the buds off, and you then essentially will take those to the drying room to dry. So the question, no, there hasn't been any determination of whether cannabis is going to be sold as a wet weight or as a dry weight. But the added process of drying has its cost. You know what I mean? And if a traditional cultivator is to get into drying, the setting up of drying facilities, which shouldn't be just a piece of tarpaulin and you string a line and you hang the cannabis up to dry inside the air. You know what I mean? There may be a need for much more, I got to say, much more sophisticated processes and so forth. So it's something that we have to look at pricing, whether what is most beneficial to the traditional cultivator and not, and look at that carefully.
In other news, agents of Change SVG donated 2 suitcases of medical supplies to the Central Medical Stores. A representative of the Agent of Change, O'Neil James, and his wife handed over the supplies to Chief Pharmacist Levi Walker and staff nurse Simone Roberts at the Central Medical Stores. James said that the supplies were sponsored by the Not Just Tourist organization based in Toronto, Canada.
We do have like the gauze, we have what we do have some of the gloves, we have lots of syringe and some of these other stuffs that we have here, the bandage, the tapes, the urinary supplies, the disposable needles, etc., etc. All right, so these are a lot, just a sample of things that we have coming down in the future for St. Vincent and the Grenadines from Not for Tourists Toronto.
Okay.
I must say thank you all so much for being part of what we're doing here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is very much needed supplies. So I know you plan to issue us a container in the future, and we cannot wait to actually have that container. Thank you so much for everything.
The chief pharmacist and the staff nurse at the Central Medical Stores expressed gratitude for the donation and said that the supplies will be put to good use.
I want to express appreciation for Agents of Change and Representative Mr. James and his wife for delivering the supplies to us this morning. I had a brief look at the contents, and I am very pleased that what we have are items that we use on a daily basis, and I'm quite sure that our staff, especially our nursing staff, would be very, very pleased and happy to have these additional supplies to support them in their work as they attend to our clients daily. Also, I am very pleased as well with the quality of the stuff, looking at the brands that they have, and we really cannot wait to get the additional supplies. I think.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Mr. James and his wife and Agency of Change, and also not just tourism, because truly we are grateful for the supplies that you have donated here to us. And as Mr. Walker would have said, it's things that we use on a daily basis, and we are grateful indeed that we can have them to continue the high standard of care that we already give to our patients.